In this segment, we get a community member to submit their portfolio for one of our experts to review and provide some ideas on how to improve it. And today, our expert in the studio is Matt Ingram from North Haven Financial Management. Matt, welcome.
Thank you.
And on the phone for the very first time, we have an international guest. We have Matt, who has submitted his portfolio all the way from Dallas, USA. Matt, welcome.
Thanks for having me. So excited.
Yeah, we are super pumped. Stoked that Equity Mates has made it all the way to Dallas. So really excited to get into this. Before we do, Matt, can you just give us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I grew up in Texas. Just graduated with a degree in supply chain, finance, and analytics from the University of Arkansas.
Nice.
I work for a global construction company that does a lot of power tools, and I live at home now.
Love it.
Nice.
Love it.
How did you come across Equity Mates?
Yeah, so about 3 years ago, when I had my first internship, every day going there and back, I listened to Get Started Investing. Just listened through the entire playlist, set it up, automated investing, and went off from there.
Nice. Well, hopefully this is the start of our push into the States. So, yeah, long may it continue.
Love it. Well, it kind of sounds like you might have things under control, but we'll soon find out. Ren, do you want to go through Matt's portfolio?
Yeah, so Matt's portfolio is based around 4 ETFs. He's got the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, the Vanguard All World ex-US ETF. The S&P 500 is 64%. All World ex-US is 25%. Then he's got the Vanguard Value ETF, 1% of the portfolio, and Vanguard Growth Index Fund ETF, 10% of the portfolio. So 4 ETFs. Matt, we always like to start with a nickname. What have you got for this portfolio?
Yeah, I called this one the Reverse S&P, which is the P&S plain and simple.
P&S plain and simple.
Nice. Well, Matt, it's going to get confusing for both Matts. But listener Matt, do you want to tell us a little bit about the thinking behind the portfolio and how it came to be?
Yeah, so I definitely tried to make it as easy as I could on myself because I really just don't know how to invest in individual stocks very well. I know the basics, but I don't have the balls to pull the trigger sometimes. But I tested, different ETFs when I learned about ETFs would Get Started Investing. Had a couple lump sums over the 3 years that I just all invested in S&P and VEU mostly. And I know there's a little bit of overlap with the growth fund for sure. But yeah, and then I bought some individual stocks for the first time this year. But that's pretty much the thinking.
Nice. Well, before we get into those, Matt, what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, as the name implies, it's simple, it's low cost, just Vanguard funds, and some really good global exposure. So, Matt, props to you. It's actually a really good start.
Hey, thank you.
That'd be my initial thoughts. There's obviously a few things to consider from there, but yeah, really good start.
Well, what are some of the major considerations?
Look, VTV and VUG, Matt, I'd love to hear a little bit about how you came across those, because we don't really come across those too often in Australia. It's not one of the main sort of ETFs that people talk about. But when I did some Googling, there were plenty of US-based forums where people were really into these 2 ETFs. So maybe you can tell me a bit about those and how you ended up with them.
Yeah, so on my side, I researched ETFs that were similar to the ones that were talked about on Equity Mates. These are kind of what I stumbled upon. I love the story of Warren Buffett, and it's motivated me a lot just to invest. So I just threw it in a value fund without any regard other than looking at the top stocks that are included in it. And then the growth, I know it's basically the S&P 500, just specific companies in it. But again, I just wanted something a little different than just those 2 ETFs.
Yeah, and then what happened with the value ETF? Did you give up on that one pretty quickly? I mean, it's only a 1% holding. What happened there?
Yeah, I just I didn't know if the thought process behind all of the stocks was actually value investing. Um, so I've just tried to learn more about it, and I stopped investing. I didn't put regular money into it like the dollar cost averaging I did into the S&P and VEU.
Mhm.
Nice. So Matt, what do you think? What can we do here to improve, if anything?
Yeah, so I think having a bit of a closer think about VTV and VUG and what's actually going on there and do we need them? I mean, VTV, as we know, it's about 330 holdings, mostly from the S&P 500, and then VUG is about 165 holdings from the S&P 500. So it's kind of just split the S&P 500 into growth and value, and then you've put both in there as well as the S&P 500. So it's a lot of stuff just doing the same stuff, really. There's probably no issue with holding onto it, but that VOO and VEU, which gives you the whole US index and then the rest of the world, is such a plain and simple, nice core to the portfolio. So whether you want to just keep VTV and VUG, you absolutely can. You might not want to sell them if there's tax implications. It's totally fine. But focusing on those other two would make the most sense. I think right now you're probably a little bit heavy towards VOO compared to VEU, which, I mean, you live in the US, it's your home, there's a bit of a tilt towards your home country there, and that's okay. But if you want to be dollar cost averaging, as you mentioned, then topping up VEU I would take as the priority for now.
So that's a really strong core you mentioned. Then the question becomes, what can be built around that core? So how would you start thinking about the satellite portfolio?
Yeah, so once you've got that core, you've got the S&P 500, you've got All World ex-US, you've topped that up a little bit, so it's probably a bit more reflective of the actual global stock market. Then you can start thinking about maybe some satellites. And I think when people think about satellites, like they think it has to be something out of the box, pretty different, take a bit of a risk, because the whole point in this thing is to hopefully get it to outperform. It really doesn't have to be. I mean, if you have any conviction towards some of those bigger names that's already in one of these ETFs, you can do that. I don't think you want to ruin a good thing here, a nice, simple portfolio, by taking on these specky names, companies you don't understand. Matt, you acknowledged that yourself at the start. So if you're going to do satellites, just keep them simple. Don't just buy a bunch of tech names or something that might end up dragging down your portfolio if tech takes a turn, for example. But don't ruin a good thing. 2 ETFs is going to serve you very well over time.
Some people can pull the trigger potentially too early on trying to build a satellite portfolio, like before they've truly got a solid foundation in their core. Is there like a dollar amount, or at what point do you think it is right to actually start thinking about satellites, I guess generally?
In terms of a dollar amount, I think what a lot of people don't do is that if you look at an ETF and you look at a weighting towards a particular stock, like if we just bring it back to Australia and you have like the ASX 200 and you look at that, and I can't remember the percentage off the top of my head, but say 10% of it or whatever is CBA. Someone might have $50,000 in the ASX 200 and they don't consider that $5,000, like in dollar terms, is CBA. And so they go buy a little bit more CBA. And when you look at it in dollar terms, like you have a lot of dollars in a single holding now. So I think understanding what's in these ETFs in dollar terms, if you want to buy that as a satellite, and then look at it more broadly in your portfolio and think, how many dollars do I actually have in this particular stock? And that makes it a little bit more clear, how heavily invested in a particular stock you are. But yeah, when's the right time? I mean, there doesn't even have to be a time. I think like I said, if this is working for you, just 2 ETFs, dollar cost average into it, good global exposure. Don't ruin a good thing if you don't understand, or if you're just picking satellites to have satellites, don't do it.
Well, listener Matt, it sounds like you're doing a lot right. Advisor Matt is saying don't mess up a good thing. So you're on the right track for sure. Do you have any other questions while you've got Matt on the phone?
Yeah, I appreciate the call again. I have one question, but I also just want to say thank you for the past couple of years, because I think your podcast actually has some of the most joyful voices and vibe around it that I've seen. So it's always something that I enjoy. But yeah, I think my question is, how should I balance allocating funds for my portfolio with saving up for some tuition and a wedding over the next couple of years?
Jeez. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Engagement, I take it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, that's amazing. Engaged at 22. I was 23 when I got engaged, and yeah, 22 is even younger. So well done to you.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, how should you balance that? It's all going to come down to, is it a big wedding? Is it a little wedding? How much do you need for particular things? What are you earning? There's so many questions in there that would make this very personal.
Exactly.
But I mean, if you've got money lying around, like if there's money left over after those necessary expenses, just put it to work, get it going in those ETFs and dollar cost average that.
I can speak to this personally. Probably you can as well, Ren, because we've both gone through weddings, Matt, ourselves, and no doubt they are an expensive process. And I think we both faced a period of probably 12 months or so where the reality was we needed to put money towards it, and we had to sacrifice some of the money that we were putting into the markets to some degree, like sitting. And so I remember we sort of both finished our respective weddings and rejoiced at the free cash flow that we would be getting back. But for me particularly, it wasn't, it was a choice, we just knew we had to get the wedding done. And it was just understanding that period of time, the priority was saving cash for a wedding. And I knew that I'd be able to pick up the investing more seriously post-wedding. So I guess from my point of view, the feeling of trying to do it all at once was resolved by just knowing what was the immediate cash priority.
Yeah. Oh, the only thing I'd add to that is, mate, you're 22, you're already investing, you've built a solid core portfolio. Like, if you need to take a bit of time off investing or invest less, just be really proud that you've got started young. I reckon so many people listening would want to be in your situation. So you can focus on the wedding, confident that like you've made an epic start already. So
yeah, and just be
well
comfortable
done.
with the fact that, I mean, kids might come along at some point and you might not be able to invest too heavily at that point in time. And then, you might buy a house one day and there might be a period where you might not be able to do that. Just do it when you can and keep going.
Yeah, but mate, well done. 22. I wish I had built that core portfolio like you had.
I know.
Keep going. And spread the word in the States about about Equity Mates. We want Dallas to be our number one US city.
Yeah, no pressure.
Don't worry. I've already spread the word to my immediate connections for sure, but I'm grateful for the advice. Thank you.
Nice. Well, Matt, thank you so much for submitting your portfolio, taking the time to join us today all the way from Dallas. We really do appreciate it. We appreciate your comments and the support.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You have a good day.
And Matt Ingram, thank you so much for joining us. Absolute pleasure, as always.
Thanks, guys.
If you would like to submit to Pimp My Portfolio, head to equitymates.com/contact. There's a form there to fill out. If you would like to speak to Matt or any of our other handpicked advisors to get your portfolio reviewed, you can head to equitymates.com/advice. There's a form there to fill out and we'll connect you with the right advisor.
I will say this about investing. Everything you do learn is cumulative. What I learned at 20 is useful.